Hi, the internet is full of videos on how to make a dream catcher, but I want to show you my way of weaving on a more complex shape, a crescent shape. I will make my dream catcher on such wooden rings. I found them in a craft store. The rings can be attached like this. The smaller one is inside the larger one, or by placing one ring on top of the other one. For weaving, I use a cotton cord from AliExpress. A similar cord can be found at a hardware store. So, let's weave the first row. I place the first loop as close to the edge as possible. I throw the thread over the ring, bend around it, and bring the end of the thread into the formed loop. Now you need to pull the thread. The distance between the loops can be any, although I don't advise placing them close to each other, since the subsequent rows will be more difficult to weave. To keep the thread taut, I press the loop with my finger. And in this way I weave the first row, keeping the same distance between the loops. The first row is ready, and here the fun begins. I make the exact same loop on the second ring, opposite the previous one. I hold the thread taut and make the next loop on the thread of the first row. The loop should be in the middle of the thread. I again make the third loop on the second ring, pulling the thread to the ring. Next, I weave the second row on the threads of the first one, here, in these places. Here we come to the third row. I make a loop on the second ring again, pulling the thread. The next loop is on the thread of the second row. Such a double thread should form. And then the loop goes on the second ring again. And you can weave the third row. By this principle, the whole dream catcher is made. We make 3 loops to move to the next row. The first one is on the second ring, and the second one is on the thread of the previous row, and the third one is on the second ring again. And don't forget to tighten the thread, especially when moving to a new row. The last row remains. tie the loose end of the thread into a knot. Before that, I also made the same dream catcher. I will continue to work with it. You may notice that the threads are tighter near the second ring. And here are the knots on the back side. I coated them with PVA glue for reliability. Next, I'll show you how to make a hanging loop. This is how I fix a piece of thread and bring the ends to the back side. I put the loose ends like this, so that I get a loop of the desired size. I will weave it with another thread. Weaving should start from the beginning, not from the middle, as I have it. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes only. This is the most ordinary macrame knot. There are a lot of schemes on the internet. I will leave a link in the description. All you need to remember is, if you start with the thread on the left, then the next knot should start with the thread on the right, and thus they should alternate. And this is what we get. And if you don't alternate the threads, then the weaving will be twisted. You choose how you like it more. Now let's make the decor. I will be making crystals from gypsum, and you can use whatever your heart desires. I add PVA glue to the gypsum. It is required here. With glue, the working time with the mixture increases. It remains liquid longer, and after drying, the product turns out to be stronger. I don't keep any proportions. I do everything by eye. A little glue, a little water, and a little gouache to add color. And I also add glitter and pigment. These were eyeshadows. You could fill the molds. Pay special attention to the tip of the crystal. The thick mixture itself won't fill such a narrow space. It needs help. I add different colors to the mold one by one. Tap to expel air, and you can make some swirls inside. The crystals will harden for several days, since the silicone molds don't allow air to pass through, and the glue in the mixture increases the curing time. This is what we get with the passage of time. And these are the leftovers of mixture. See how the glitter shimmers delicately in the sun. If the crystals are still wet, then leave them to dry without molds. All excess gypsum should be sanded off. Gently screw the pins into the crystals, and this place will need to be filled with resin or super glue, otherwise the pins won't hold. I coat all the crystals with epoxy resin to give strength and for moisture protection. The resin is absorbed into the gypsum, and after curing, the surface of the product remains perfectly matte, and that's exactly what I need. However, you can use the same PVA glue or acrylic varnish. Another decoration will be a wooden blank. I cover it with a purple pigmented resin. I add a drop of white dye for color density. All the dyes I have are specially for epoxy resin. Ideally, the workpiece should be varnished before applying the resin, and this would prevent a lot of air bubbles from forming. Or, first, saturate the workpiece with a thin layer of resin. As you can see here, let the resin cure, and only then do the main fill. I made this sketcher for a friend, so we chose her zodiac sign. And yes, you don't need to pour too much resin, as I did. Some of the resin leaked out, and I had to remove the excess. I supplemented the dreamcatcher with tassels made from the same thread as the weaving. And here is the result.